welcome back to November and to another fun and educational evening. We have a really great program tonight. I won't introduce Karen, but Stu will. But before we get on to that, I just want to give you some announcements. Tomorrow, the San Francisco Peninsula Camellia Society will be meeting actually in the big room at 5:30. It's going to be dinner and a meeting with Tom Nucci. Tom Nuccio has his own nursery, and he grows and cultivates azaleas and camellias, some really rare ones. So he'd be and he's an expert in that field. So it's a really good opportunity to get to know more about your camellias and your azaleas and rhododendrons, because he knows everything. So that's happening tomorrow. And soon Thursday, we're hoping to have Purple Pipe. Tom from Purple Pipe is going to be coming talking about irrigation. And then we have on the back wall, we have a whole bunch of sign-up sheets. We're also looking for committee chairs for next year, 2023. There's a number of them, so please take a look and see if any of them appeal to you. Also, Stu has put on that table as well for the annual row show, because we're starting organizing that right now. So I also want to say tonight we are going to vote on the new slate for 2023. Originally, when we talked about when we published it, it was the president was Judy Webster, and I was going to be co-president. Now I found out from Barbara Gordon, who is going to be the person who's going to be installing us, all the officers, that you have to have two co-presidents, not a president and a co. So we decided that Judy is going to be the president. I'm going to be right there with her. So and it's going to be a great year because Judy is going to be fantastic. She's going to bring such energy and new blood.
We'll talk next year about this and see how great it was.
We need new blood, new energy. It's going to be great. It's so great. And we have Janice Murphy. Janice, do you want to stand up and just so everybody can see you?
Yeah.
Great. This is
Yeah.
Janice Murphy. She's going to be our vice president.
All
in charge
right.
of programs. She's going to be organizing our monthly meeting programs. And again, Stu and I are going to be right there.
Yeah, I'll be right there to help since I was doing that this
Excuse me,
last
who's
year.
our treasurer?
Our treasurer is
Jenny.
Yes. And we have Catherine Nelson is not here tonight, but she will be at the December meeting when we have the installation. She's very excited to be the recording secretary. She's a retired school teacher. She'll keep us on track. So
Good.
no detentions. And Inez is going to return for corresponding secretary. Inez, do you want to stand up and just go? For our director, we have Stu Dalton. So he's going to do a great show like he always does. And then we have new to the board of directors is Carl Brannan, who's going to be and Quincy is going to keep us on track with all her expertise, being such a long-term member. That's what we're going to do. So tonight, we, the members, will vote to approve the 2023 slate of officers as I just read them. So I just want a show of hands that everyone's in favor. Yep, I got unanimous. That's going to pass. Thank you so much. We have a majority. Now, it's going to be installed, like I said, Tuesday, December 6th. That's at our holiday party. And I've already sent the invite, so you got that. So just please RSVP and tell me what you're going to bring. We're going to have this, we're going to be in this room. We're going to try to really decorate it nicely, so it'll be really festive. Barbara Gordon, who's a horticulture judge and a rose arranger and a consulting rosarian, she's going to do the honors of doing the installation for us. So it's going to be a really nice time. So I encourage you to come. So without further ado, I think that also I have some list of people who are going to bring dessert tomorrow to the Camellia Show. So if you signed up, you know who you are. Don't forget your dessert. And that's it.
Patty, did we find out how many people were attending this event?
Well, last time I heard it was 45.
Okay.
So pretty big, yeah.
45, but they were hoping for 60. Because they're gonna be in the big room. Yeah.
Okay.
And also people who have ordered camellias, they get to pick them up there. So if you ordered them, if you sent your money in, then you'll have that.
And if you didn't, there is a silent auction. And Tom Nuzio is bringing some of his favorites as part of that. Plus, I'm gonna throw in a rose for the Rose Society. It'll be in the silent auction as well.
Yay. I don't know anything about camellias.
They grow in the shade, that's the
They
nice thing.
grow in the shade, okay, well, that's hard and spread with where I live. No, it actually isn't, I have one section that's shady. But are they blooming now, or?
Some start now and some go through the winter. They really bloom in the fall through winter.
Oh, okay.
And into the early spring. Different varieties.
So the
I've got some
ones that
blooming
we
now.
have, we might see what the flowers look like?
The ones that he's brought, I don't know if they're
Oh.
fall blooming or winter
Okay.
blooming, but.
We have two members here.
Sanctity,
So,
yeah.
we have two
We
members
actually-
here who are members of the Camellia Society. Do you want to speak about that right now, Rachel?
Sure. And
Eleanor
Tom-
helped me.
Tom Nuccio is a wonderful speaker, and you'll just want to have all those plants that he talks about because he's so good. And I don't know if he'll bring Sasanquas tomorrow, but
He probably will.
He might bring a few, and they're in bloom now. And then the japonicas will be budded, but not probably in bloom.
I've actually got a japonica in bloom. It's early.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
they do. Well, debutante blooms early.
I've got a debutante blooming.
Do you really? Yeah.
Yeah, I've got a debutante too, but not blooming yet.
Yeah, mine isn't either. Mine looks sick
But
right now.
I will say that I loved his, for many years. I've got a 30-year-old Nuzio's Pearl named after that, and it's my favorite one, and it's 15 feet tall. It's underneath the redwood tree.
Well, I want to see yours because mine doesn't do well.
Well, he's going to be there, and if you have any questions about your camellias, he's really helpful. So I'm going to go. It's going to be
Yeah.
good.
And one of the president of the Community Society just joined
Right.
Rose Society.
Karen Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Karen Hill. Yeah, so we're becoming one big family.
And 3 Karens now.
The Rhodey
Don't forget to pay your
Society is
dues
coming
with us,
tomorrow night,
right? Okay, good, so let's introduce our
Okay,
speaker.
I will do that, and I'll spend just a second on the signups. We've had a tremendous turnout for the signups since we had our meeting in July. We've had a lot of people sign in for the coordinating committee, and if you want to steer it, that is what it is. It's really a steering committee. I only took the chair because nobody else would take it, but I did it with the condition that the main steering will be by that committee rather than by me. And if you want to see something done a certain way, put yourself down on that committee and attend. We'll do the next one in January. There are other rules. There are also a few other things around. There's some things on the raffle table that are some things that are free, and there are some handouts for pruning and for propagation, in case you're interested in either of those topics that are over there. With that, I'm going to switch this over, and we'll see how well we do with the drums. Okay, it's in your hands now. Now we'll have to ask Karen to speak loudly because the mic over there is for pickup. The one that I thought would work for lavalier mic isn't working.
You're muted, Stu.
Now, is it on now?
You're good now.
Okay.
Is it on?
It should be.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's really fun. We have a pretty full room tonight, which makes this all a lot more fun. tonight what we're gonna do is create arrangements that are very easy and very fun and things that you can do for your own homes during the holidays. It isn't necessarily something that you would put in a rose show because it may not follow all those kinds of rules. So this arranging is really just for fun, for pleasure, and almost no rules, anything you like works. So what we're gonna do tonight is we're gonna kind of walk through the holiday season and create an arrangement for each of the major holidays that are coming up so quickly, which is kind of scary right now. If we think about what Thanksgiving is in another week. So we're gonna start with a Thanksgiving arrangement. We'll work our way through that. Then we're gonna switch to one for the Christmas season. And then we're gonna end with something for the New Year's. And if we have time, we'll create a few little fun things that you can put in your powder rooms or by your nightstand or whatever. And we are donating all of the arrangements to the raffle, so I'll give a plug for Bob. We don't want him to fall asleep back there. Everybody buy raffle tickets.
Good job.
Woke him up.
Okay, so what we're gonna do is I have the Thanksgiving arrangement is gonna be in a cornucopia. And I've got it filled with a plastic tray so that it hopefully won't leak on your table. I still, if whoever wins this, I would put it on something on your dining table, just to be sure that it does not leak. And it is filled with floral foam. And when you do win this and get home, please add more water to the tray. And probably every day for a while because the leaves and the plants will be drinking a lot when they first go in there.
Karen, where do you get the cornucopia?
So I believe I probably got these at Michael's a few years ago. I buy these things and I save them away and then I get them out. Yeah, so if I see something like that on sale, I get them. So I've had a few of these and I like the shape of it. And then the good part is when you're done, the liner comes out and you can just easily store this and then next year you create another one. So they're very useful and fun. So I just absolutely love these magnolia leaves. Beautiful, shiny, not my tree, but cut from my friend's tree. And that's the pod that becomes, eventually the magnolia flower turns into this pod. And the color to me is just great. So we're gonna try to fit that pod in there somehow.
Did you shine them or oil them?
No, can you
Wow,
believe
they're
this is how they
perfect.
came off the tree? I do think
Wow.
that big rain we had was a
Oh,
huge
cleaned them up.
huge help. I know, I can't believe how shiny they are either.
Wow.
So when I start, especially working with a form like this, where the back you're not gonna see too much, you're really gonna mostly see the front. We wanna make sure that when we're done, we don't see the black tray and we don't see this big block of oasis. So when I start with putting in the greenery first, because it's nice and big, which is another reason, I also like magnolia leaves because the back, especially like these ones where they're dark on the back, is really very pretty. And as they dry, they'll kind of turn and you'll see more of the darkness of them, which is really pretty. So what I'm gonna do is just start putting them in here so that they're going to begin to cover up my mechanics and hide all the stuff that I would like to hide. So I do work on a turntable because then I can make sure that I'm not forgetting a major part of it. And so the first step is always what I call the kind of greening up, which is using any kind of greenery that you happen to like or that fits the motif. The interesting part is a lot of times the flowers themselves, the leaves that come with the flowers don't live very long. So when I show you what flowers I'm putting in, a lot of them I'll have to actually strip the leaves off of. And then if this was a rose show, obviously you would show your roses with their leaves because you're also being judged on the foliage. But since it's not a rose show, I will take most of the leaves off because the florist roses, the leaves do not last well. So again, I'm just kind of creating just a basic framework with the greenery, kind of getting it in here. And the branches are there are some really, really big ones, but then that'll cover the whole thing and then we won't be able to get any flowers in, so that's not gonna be good. So we're just gonna, that one's too big, so I'm gonna
I
go
got
back.
a tip from the person I used to call the Uber Master Composter of
Yes.
San Mateo County.
Uh-uh.
Delightful woman, and for what you do with magnolia leaves when you have the tree.
Yes.
And it's sat out in front and it's dropping its leaves all the time. And that is to compost them You drive over them with your car.
Well, that's a good idea.
And after the surgical complication I had, which was malpractice, I made a form and paper of the surgeon, stuffed it with the leaves, and drove back and forth.
That's a good idea too. So these are just very fun because of the color. And I think they're bittersweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they are. These are from the flower market, so you wouldn't find bittersweet growing that looks quite this good. It is, they have, but the color of it is just, to me, is really picks up the whole Thanksgiving feeling. And I do like to use a lot of branches. I think that they're very attractive.
Is the bittersweet a bush or a tree?
It's a bush.
Yeah, I think it's a bush. This is more upright than what you usually see. Usually they're more kind of like almost a garlandish thing. So these
Yeah,
are
it's like a vine in the
It's-
Midwest, and
you're right.
invasive, and
Yes.
very problematic,
Yes, so
but
these
red
are, I
and
think
pretty.
some kind of hybrid is my guess, that's why we have this interesting shape and color. But again, it just picks up that little punch. And you know that I love leaves, so I think that the colors of these are really, really beautiful. And I don't have very many. And again, I think this is a smoke bush, I'm pretty sure it is. And I just picked these off. And I'm just gonna put a couple in there, again, just to pop up that fall color a little bit. And as you can see, this is a very light and airy kind of leaf. It's not gonna cover anything. And that's why I'm layering it on top of where I have the magnolia, because then we can get the magnolia to create the blocking of the oasis, but this pretty, pretty color from the smoke bush can be picked up. One more little piece over on the other side. And I do try to balance it a little bit. I mean, I don't want it to be exactly symmetrical because, it's nature and everything has kind of its own shape and look, so I don't want it to be too stiff, but I do like to sort of have things coming through. So the next thing I would do, once I have my greenery established, is I would put what I'm gonna consider to be kind of the main flower. So one of the kind of words that people like to use for making flower arrangements is you should have something that's a filler, and I would call my magnolia leaves really the filler. Something that's a spiller, which it kind of comes over and drapes a little bit, and I've got some more drapey stuff too. And then the thriller, which is your main flower. So these would be the main flower, because I just think, number one, roses are always the main flower, right? I mean, they're just beautiful. And so I will cut off a few of the leaves. Now, if you're a person that, and I'm not, is very concerned about thorns, everybody know that this is a thorn stripper? You just put it on, pull down, no more thorns. It's the coolest thing. So if you're hesitant to arrange because you're afraid of getting poked, they're not expensive to buy, and they're really easy to use.
Can they ever be used on a living rose bush?
Oh. I don't think so. I've never thought about that, Deborah, but I kind of think it would be bad for it.
Right, they need
Probably strip the cameo layer off.
That's what I'm afraid of, is that you would cause some kind of damage to it, but yeah.
Where did you get the stripper?
Boy, where did I get that? Probably at the flower market, but I've had it for so long, but yeah, they're really neat, really easy to do.
Is the flower market in San Francisco still open to the public?
It is, so if you go, I believe it's after 10 a.m., then the public can purchase. But what I would recommend is you get there before that happens and you check out at 10 a.m. because they start closing things up very soon after that. But it is open to the public. You just end up that you have to pay tax in order to go there. And it's interesting because I went to a lecture this summer by a gentleman that does flower arranging all over the world, honestly, and he's from Germany, Gregor Lurch. Some of you may have heard of him. Anyways, he said He's gone everywhere. He thinks that San Francisco Flower Market is still the very best. And we all felt like it kind of really had gone down, like it
Right,
wasn't.
it has.
He said it is the best he's ever been to, still to this day, so. I thought, well, you know, we should appreciate that, right? We have it. Okay.
Amazon has the flower stripper for $10.
Okay, there you go,
Several
Amazon.
versions.
Yes, we should just say that, right? Like, you need something, check Amazon, right? I'm such a non-Amazon person, so I just can't get my brain into it, but they do have everything, there's no question about it.
So all of your cuttings that you're doing,
Yes,
I always cut all my stems underwater.
yes.
Let them sit underwater for a bit, and then put them wherever I want.
Yep.
Would that be your preferred style too, or?
Well, that's a very good question. So
Yes.
if you do, well, a lot of people do cut underwater, and all the Ikebana people cut underwater. It's a very specific. I don't, and I never have, but I find that my flowers last very, very well. It's the concept that they have is that if you cut underwater, you're not gonna have an air bubble, but you're still picking it up and putting it in. So I condition them way ahead of time, so what I do is whatever flowers I purchase, I cut the stems once I get them home, whether they're from Trader Joe's or Safeway or the flower market or wherever. I come home, I cut the stems, and then I put them in fresh water with some of the flower food in, and I let them sit in a cool place for at least, 6-8 hours or overnight, depending, and then I use them. And that way they have, rehydrated. And it's important to make the fresh cut because when they're sitting there, they're kind of callousing over, and so then they're not drawing the water as well. So to me, the most important thing is to cut them when you get them, put them in fresh water, and give them the plant food. But yes, cutting underwater is a good technique, for sure. Okay, so any questions that people should just ask. So we're gonna add some other color to it just because I love the fall colors. So chrysanthemums are another thing. The leaves on chrysanthemums are terrible. They will rot immediately. Even if you are just gonna put this in a vase of water, take all the leaves off of it. And it will last so much longer and your water won't get that bad smell.
Yes.
The other thing I do with chrysanthemums is I rarely would use this as the whole thing. I actually will take them apart, and that way you can get a lot more flowers out of it, and it creates a much more natural and interesting placement than just sticking this whole thing in there. So we're just gonna cut these off, and then I'll usually leave the top with at least 2 and sometimes with 3. And because we're putting this into kind of what I would call overall a low arrangement, I'm not gonna have much of this stem left. So I do try to cut the stems at an angle, and the reason for that is because they do take in a little more water that way. And then if you see like I have this big callus thing here, it's better to actually cut right above that because that's gonna stop the water from flowing. And then one of these had, I guess, died or whatever, fallen off. So make sure when you have those kind of things, just cut them out. So you don't want to see that. And then, again, you're just going to kind of turn your arrangement. Oops. Get your leaves out of your way. And then just give it a nice little poke in there just to pick up that color that we have going. And then I do like to have just a little bits of, something like this flower, which more is a filler flower. So I like to have just a little bit of it kind of all over so that it flows through the arrangement. And then some of the pieces, it's good to put them very short and very low down because then that covers your oasis more, and you also, doesn't want to go through there. It also brings your eye inside the arrangement. So you don't want the arrangement to be kind of like a helmet where your eye just stops. So you want to have some things that are in deep and some things that are poking out a little bit so that your eye travels through the arrangement. Okay, I'm going to put a few more mums up at the top here.
been to the Flower Mart for at least 30 years, I think. But I was starting to take a flower arranging class through an excellent person, the city of Palo Alto.
Oh, nice.
And everything she brought was mauve.
Oh, interesting.
Are there other colors available there?
I would say that that was probably her personal
Preference,
favorite flavor,
right.
color.
That's why I had to quit.
Yeah, because you weren't into that color scheme, darn. Yeah, I do think that people kind of get into a certain color scheme sometimes. I personally like all color schemes, and although today I'm doing, more of a harmonious mix of colors, like with this isn't real contrasting.
Wow.
But I think that for this kind of thing, it works. So the other thing you can do, which is fun, and I'm not gonna do it because this is nice and full, but especially for a Thanksgiving arrangement, you can put fruit in.
Mhm.
And basically, this is a wooden pick, and you stick the pick into the fruit at one end, so it's holding it nice and sturdy. And then you find a place, and you just put in your little pears or persimmons, and then they're just kind of hiding in there, see? Yeah. Do you guys like it with? Should I put a couple more, or do you think it has enough? You like it? Okay, we're gonna do it then.
And it's sort of spilling out of the cornucopia, you can also put them next to it, I guess.
Yes, you
For
can
a table
actually,
arrangement.
exactly. You can have this on your table, and then you could have maybe some pears and some pumpkins and some, I love persimmons because the color, of course. Just have a whole little thing coming right there through there, which is fun. So that is definitely a very good idea. And little pumpkins, the small ones, that's really fun too.
You recommended cutting underwater, or you discussed that. I think that's excellent. Do you recommend a particular diving suit for cutting underwater?
That's why I don't do it, Deborah. I couldn't find the right diving suit. I looked and looked.
I'll see what I can do. Maybe I can loan you one.
Okay. So then, there we go. We're smashing one of our little roses a tiny bit. Maybe I can poke him out a little with that pear. Okay. So that will be the Thanksgiving arrangement for whoever wins that. Keep water on it and put that on your table.
Or buy tickets.
Yeah, buy tickets. Okay. Let's see, I'll put it so it's facing you guys.
I should have said this to introduce, but you not only have taught at Filoli, taken classes at Filoli, that's why the Filoli, but
true.
you are a garden club judge.
Yeah, I'm a Garden Club of America floral
And
design judge.
I came across the winner of the most unusual nice arrangement from 2008, and you won that. And your mom won the one before. So you know what you're
the
doing.
Earl Parsons, that's right.
Earl Parsons, that's
Yes,
right.
boy, that was a long time ago. That was, yeah.
Actually, it was, she won a couple before that. You were 2014.
Yeah, I think my mom had a bunch of them.
You
that's
did?
Right. Yeah, she
Karen
did.
had a bunch.
So, for the next one, save these. I didn't get my little that ball in there either. I'll think about it. I didn't fit him in there, but I can just put him along the bottom, actually. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, just stick them in there. Okay, so for the next, we're gonna switch seasons. And I really don't wanna start thinking about Christmas already, but that seems to be, if you go in any of the stores right now. Now, a lot of you guys were with us 2 years ago in the pandemic when these came to all of your houses and everybody made these. And everybody did a great job. So this is an Oasis form made like a wreath for those that didn't do this. And it's got its own plastic tray. And then I always put it on something, whatever color scheme you're gonna go with, which we're gonna do gold. Charger, so that you don't get water on your table yet again. And it also just gives it a better look. And the fun part about these, you can reuse them. I do reuse them. And also, you can use them for any time of the year. We've done them with succulents, and they last and last and last. So of course, we're gonna do this one with evergreens, and you're gonna think, well, it's kind of early for Christmas, but if you keep this wet and keep it maybe somewhere cool-ish, it will last, the greenery will last. You're probably gonna have to take the flowers out and replace them, but as you'll see, most of this is gonna be greens and things that will last. So the fun part about this is, you know, you can just go out and look for beautiful evergreens and have a lot of fun cutting different things.
If people want to come and get some holly with berries
Oh, that's
on it,
right. Deborah
I've
has
got
a beautiful
two
holly.
trees, and
Yes.
the, looks as if the cedar waxwings and robins have not come down. Somebody on Nextdoor's beautiful photos lives up in the hills with cedar waxwings
Yes.
and bluebirds and
Yeah.
robins, but I haven't seen any yet in my
Yeah, we
yard.
have a lot of robins right now eating the berries up at my place, so yes. So what we're gonna do is, basically we're just gonna start to fill this in, which becomes kind of a tedious task, so that's the one problem with this. You can have it go over as much as you want or as little as you want. I'm gonna go for a little more of a draping effect. And you wanna make sure that you put your greenery all around, so you don't just have it going up straight and down. You've got some going along and pushing against the side so that it's gonna eventually hide that. You've got some that it's going up on the top, and then we'll have a little bit that'll be going to the inside, but we don't wanna block that all the way because we're gonna put some fun things on the inside. And I have lots of different kinds of evergreen. You can do it with whatever you have. You can use all the same kind. I like to use different kinds because I like, for instance, this cedar, it really droops well, so this would be kind of my spiller. I just like the way it moves, but it also isn't very thick. So as far as covering the whole form with it, it would take a lot of little pieces, and while you could do it, it wouldn't be quite as interesting either because they would all look exactly the same. So we're just gonna kind of start with that. And then I always like to put at least some pine because the pine has the really good scent. As long as you don't dislike it or you're not allergic to it, but I like the scent of the pine. And it also, you know, does cover a little more because it's a little bushier. So we're gonna put a few pieces of, and then if it's going too close to your stems, you've gotta have enough stem to stick in. You just strip off those few little needles so that you have room to stick it in. And then the nice part about these little Rubbermaid turntables is you can just keep turning it, so then you sort of work evenly on all sides, and it keeps it more balanced. It's just easier to do. And just pulling off the little excess. So.
You can also use them for grooming horticultural.
Oh, there you go.
I have a couple.
How do you use them for that?
You just put the thing in the middle and
Turn it
sitting
around.
down and grooming all the leaves.
Yeah. Oh, that's good. All right.
What is the organization Garden Clubs of America? I've never heard of it.
Yeah, it is, it's a group of garden clubs that, that are certified by Garden Club of America. So there's, in the Bay Area, I think there's 5 different clubs.
Oh.
Yeah, but it's a national organization. Yeah, so.
And if we can't find enough judges that are certified for roses, you're allowed to judge.
Am I? Oh my
Yes, you
gosh,
are.
I did not know that.
It's
Uh-oh.
in the ARS. Yeah, we haven't conscripted you yet.
No, I was gonna say, I didn't know that, cause I don't, yeah, anyways. It is a lot of fun, and the good part, and that's what I like, is you learn a lot. You know, when they say, do you wanna become a judge? It's just like becoming a consulting rosarian. You have to do a lot of stuff. I think it took me 7 years to become qualified. So you learn a lot along the way, which is what was fun and interesting about it. And, yeah, so just like everything. If you're interested, it's worth spending the time, and if you're not, then it's just, you know, definitely not for you. Okay, so we have the basic form done. I'm gonna save these all, because my very helpful assistant is gonna get the horrible task of filling this in more after I've got a little bit more greenery in here. So I'm also gonna add a couple more interesting evergreens here that are nice and bushy. This one has a little blue, and then I've got some really nice redwood. But yes, I like the redwood where it has the little kind of flowers on the edge.
This is a little off to the side, but with hydrangea blooms.
Yes.
Fading now, when do you like to cut them?
Okay,
And
you know
how
what,
do I use them?
that's a great question, because I'm gonna use the hydrangeas in this, and I'm actually gonna go over that exact thing. So hang on to that thought, because I'm gonna do that in a second.
We actually have antique classes for hydrangeas that have faded in the fall.
Oh, I'm sorry, antique?
Huh.
They call them antique, and they're really just the regular ones that fade.
Yeah.
But they have shows.
I never
Or
heard of
shows,
that.
just,
Yeah.
wow.
I was checking it.
I had never heard of that.
My daughter had those for her wedding.
Oh.
Oh, how
And I
nice.
didn't know how they got the color, and I found out when I grew them, and I just left them on the plant.
Yeah, well,
Mine
that's
are
what-
at that intermediate stage that's so lovely.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
If Alvaro will let me cut them.
So yes, we'll talk about how to cut them. Okay. This is good. And if you want to do something like this, you can also do it in several steps. You could do one day you could work on the greening up, which is putting all the stuff in, and then the next day you could do the flowers. So you don't have to do it all at once. And once the green's on there, as I said, it's gonna last a long time.
How long did you soak the oasis?
Yeah, good question. So the Oasis, I actually just take I fill a old, like a little tub, Tupperware type of thing, with some water, and I put it upside down so the foam is in the water and the plastic's on top, and you just leave it in there until it actually sinks, and then you know that all the water is out of it. In it, and it's absorbed totally, because it gets very heavy once it has absorbed all the water. So I would say that forms actually take probably several hours, really. They do not absorb as fast. Like a regular block, if you put it in, you can have that ready to go in 30, 40 minutes. But these seem to take a long time to get thoroughly wet.
Where can you buy them locally?
So Amazon for sure. Stuart
Right,
found that
right.
link, and otherwise you have to get them at the wholesaler.
And that size is harder to find.
Yes.
Amazon has some smaller rings, I know, because I bought them.
Oh, you mean it in the San Francisco Flower Mart?
There's also a wholesaler in San Jose, and I do believe they will sell to the public also. It's called Mount Eden, and I actually buy that kind of stuff down there. It's by the airport, other side from the airport, but almost the same turnoff in San Jose. Okay, so once you've sort of got your form green, then you're gonna add your flowers, which of course have to be roses. And I like red for Christmas. Some people would rather use white. That's okay. Either way is good. And then in this situation, as we did the other time, we're gonna use the roses very low. And some are gonna be up on the top, and then others will be coming out on the sides, just coming through where we have our greenery, and just kind of turning it, and then adding them at different heights and different vantage points where you think if you're gonna put this, you could either put it on your dining table or on a coffee table. So thinking about how you're gonna be viewing it. So if you're at the dining table, you're gonna be sitting and viewing it, then you want more around the sides as well as the top. If it's at the coffee table, then maybe a little more focus on the top. But, and then you don't wanna make it so tall if it's on your dining table that you're gonna block people's view. So that's another thing too, is you don't want it so tall. Down. And then after I add these, I am gonna add some hydrangeas, and then we're gonna talk about hydrangeas a little bit. I love hydrangeas. They're definitely one of my favorite flowers. I actually grow a lot of hydrangeas. Not through any talent of my own, just sheerly, the plants are happy where they are, I'm not sure why, and I get a lot of good hydrangeas out of them. Can they hear or they can't hear?
Are you muted?
Oh, oops. Okay, so, the next thing, we do have more roses we can add at the end. The next thing is gonna be the hydrangeas, but I'm gonna talk about these hydrangeas first, because these are
what they look like.
cut from my garden yesterday. And I'm gonna pass it around, because I want you to feel it. It's gonna make sort of almost a feel and almost a noise of paper. And if they're at that stage, then you cut them. And I actually learned this from the Martha Stewart years ago, and it really works. You cut them, put them in a vase or in a thing of water, and you just leave them in there till the water evaporates, and they will dry. And if you keep them out of the sun while they're drying, they will sometimes retain their color. Sometimes they don't, but a lot of times they will. So this one's still a little floppier than it should be. It'll probably be okay, but I'm gonna pass that one around, just so you feel. And then, so when mine are ready to harvest, I cut a lot of them, and then the ones that don't keep their color, I actually, there is such a thing as floral spray paint, and it's called Design Master, and so these are painted.
Oh,
So these are spray painted with floral, color. And this will last this color forever, because these are already completely dry. These were just dried, you know, from the garden. They're completely dry. They sound like paper now. So what I also do, obviously you could put this giant thing in, but it would kind of overwhelm your arrangement. So if you look underneath, it has like little umbrellas under it, like little umbrella stands. And I just take them apart. So I end up with a bunch of little flowers, because that's what I need for this. And then each of those bundles even has a couple of more little areas you could take out if you wanted to make them even smaller. Somebody's got their music going. Okay, so then you just cut in until they're in whatever size you want to use. And then you just insert them into the oasis, which will hold them. And even though they're dried, it won't bother them they're being placed in the water, but it won't make any difference, because now they're so dry that the stem is completely dried, so it won't rot or anything like that.
I'm sending to Patty in an email, because I'm incapable of doing the rest, a program I found on TV, Jay Schwanke's Life in Bloom. Have you ever seen that?
No.
He has a garden. It's a lovely program. He's very creative. He has a garden that he designed for his flower arranging.
Oh, wow.
And it's a very
Yes.
nice teacher. And then he usually has a little recipe also that's
Oh, that's
related to what
good.
he's teaching. So I just sent it to you, Patty. If you might send it around to other people, that'd be great.
Well, I can relate to him, because I will say I plant certain things just because I'm going to use them for arranging. Like I have a whole area that I have little, like very small leaf things that I'm going to use if I need foliage for miniature arrangements, and I buy the plants just for that purpose. So it's not like really attractive or anything, but it's very functional, because if I need them, then I can go up and cut them. And a lot of the trees I have are things that I can use to cut, and bushes, like Pittosporum bushes are great. And even though privet trees are really horrible because they're so invasive, they have these beautiful black berries at this time of the year, and they're really, really good in arrangements. So once a year I love my privet trees. The rest of the time I hate them. It's one of those deals.
They're very allergenic also.
Are they? Well, they're very invasive, yes.
Yes, they
They
are.
were on my property when I came, and even if I wanted to get rid of them, I couldn't, but in fact, I really like them now because they do have a good use in the flower arranging.
What about Nadinia, heavenly bamboo? I don't think it lasts as well.
It doesn't last as well, but it has good berries, and also the leaves of the Nandina are really nice, especially in Asian arrangements. They have the very lovely shape. So I do like Nandina a lot for those purposes. I do have some growing, but I tend to always cut off the berries all the time so the plant doesn't look that good.
And it does have some color this time of year.
Yes, it does. It gets kind of a nice little bit of color going, yes. Okay. See, I just want to use that hydrangea, but I don't think I have the space. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do with this is add a little bit of a sparkle of Christmas. And, oops, where am I? So we have a choice. We could go more natural, and I can add pine cones, and we can keep this more of a woodland look, or we can go more holiday glitz and put the balls on it. So what do people rather have? Glitz, let's do it. I like it.
Well, it's the sparkle of the holiday.
Yes, it will, and actually, you picked well, because the thing that's gonna go in the center is gonna go well with this. So, these little picks, it's hard to see this, but they have a tiny little wire on the end of them. Oops, it's gonna be hard to see it, for sure. There we go. So you just put it through your ornament. Assuming you can, there it
And
goes.
did you get those pics at the flower mart or?
I think I did, actually. They come in like a pack of 1,000 or something, so I have them forever. You buy one pack and you're like, okay, I have a million now. Okay. Okay.
Are you recording it?
Okay, just tighten these guys so they're on here. And then you just wrap it around it so it makes like a fake stem. And
Use
then
a florist wire, bonsai wire.
the wire's actually attached to the picks. So they have a little teeny piece of wire on them so that we don't actually have to worry about that. You can stick that back in my little gold thing. Okay, that one around. And then I try to look for places where I think it looks kind of like it needs a little brightening up. And then, as you see, then they're just kind of peeking through there. Yeah, you can just get it all out again and stick it all back on there again.
Oh, the storage.
Yeah, yes.
Remembering
Where you put it, I know, right? Well, I had that because Priya called me up and said, did I know where the award I won in 2019 was? And I'm like, I know I saw that. I have it in the box, and I did find it.
Thank you. Me too.
I know, I'm like, oh no, where is it? 2019 was a long time ago now, right?
I'm still trying to find two.
Okay,
Carol.
throw in a couple more of these gold balls. And then, oh, we have little berries too. Little berries.
We're wired up again.
17. Oh, 7.
Okay, right in there. Okay, and we're gonna give it one more of these, and then we've got also some red berries. And we were talking about the berries, so there's some things about berries that are important to know. So these are cotoneaster berries. These will dry and stay on the branch. The berries that Deborah has with the holly, beautiful. Those will dry and stay on the branch. Toyon berries also will dry and stay on the branch.
Pyracantha?
Never use pyracantha.
Oh.
They will
Never.
shatter.
Oh.
And you will have this icky, mealy, yellowish
Oh,
stuff
oh.
everywhere. And they're so pretty, so people always want to try to use them. Don't ever use the pyracantha. Plus, they have a nasty sticker. So that's the warning. When you feel that bad sticker, it's just saying, do not use me. And don't. You'll be sorry. Okay. So then with the,
Karen?
oh yes.
Do you want to talk to pet safety with some of those berries and stuff? I don't know if there's anything to
Well,
share.
that is a good point. With any kind of plant, you do need to be a little bit concerned and careful. And if you do have pets that might get into them, depending on where you're going to be keeping it, then it is definitely something to look into, to review, to look up, to see if there is a toxicity concern with a cat or dog, you know, getting into the flower. Or, I mean, obviously we would never use oleander flowers. We all know those are poisonous. So there's some that are very obvious, but not everything is that obvious. So it is a good idea, Susie, good call to look that up and just know, you know, if it's something that's risky, then you may choose not to put it in. And I think we did have some concerns about the berries, didn't we, Susie? And didn't we look them up?
I think last year it came up.
Yeah.
But you can look these up on the internet at any point, but I would, to your point, you know, check it.
Yes.
And it's usually cats that jump on the table.
Yeah, my cats jump on the table, but
Exactly.
then they get in trouble. So, not that they care that much. I try, what they love to do is if I have, which is really terrible, when you have like a very large vase, like a big glass vase, filled with water, that is the most fascinating. They love that. I think they like the water. And all of a sudden if he's in and I hear, and then you hear, and you, oh my gosh. All over the place. So anyways, the cotoneaster berries are nice. They're a kind of a brightish red. So we have definitely got some different types of reds going on in here, which I like. I think it makes it more fun than if they're all the same tone. It's nice to have a little pop of this and a little pop of that. And
I think you should stop putting goldfish in those big vases.
that's what the cats want. That's right. You're probably right, Deborah. Okay. So the other thing about these wreath forms, which does kind of, you know, get to you after a while, there's a lot of surfaces to cover. So I'm going to add one more thing, and then my mom's going to look through and plug in anything that looks like you can still see the oasis. But it's very fun to do a candle in these. And I would always put it in some kind of glass because we are, you know, we do have plant material here. And this is a gold and green and red candle, which I thought would be kind of fun in there. And then here you would have your Christmas arrangement. Especially, I think, in the middle, there's, you can see quite a bit of oasis in there. So just some little pieces. I think maybe tiny pieces of the redwood. It's pretty easy to do. Maybe a few berries if you can. Just a little bit of stuff. Okay, so how are we doing on time? Pretty good. All right, we have time for New Year's for sure. Okay, so this is another fun and easy thing, and I taped these down. But this is a little cup. It's called a candle cup. It holds a little round piece of the foam, and it has a little holder that goes into where the candle goes. But then I did stabilize it with tape because whoever buys this is going to, wins it, is going to be taking it home. I don't want it to come off. But you can easily remove the tape. So this would be for a New Year's Eve table, and we're going to have 2 arrangements done in these, and then you could put like votive candles all the way along to give it a little extra glitz and go from there. So what we're going to do first, which is not usually what I do first, is we're going to add the candles first because that's going to determine where I put some of the stuff. So I've got silver candles to go with our silver theme. And the candles will stick directly into the floral foam. Oh, and they've got 2 things of plastic on them, just to keep them really, really special. Okay, so then I just stick it down in here. Okay. Okay. And then I do want to make sure the candles are at pretty much the same level, so, there we go. There we go. Okay. So the tricky part about this is I'm gonna make one, and then I'll have to copy and make the second one. Okay. And so the first thing I'm gonna start with is the greenery, which is gonna be also gonna be my spiller, because it's gonna go over the edge. So these are just eucalyptus berries. Again, trees that you love to hate, because most of the time they're making a huge mess in your yard. But at this time of the year, I am very happy to have them. And I'm just gonna go around, just like we did with all of our other things, to kind of start to block up my little foam here so we don't see it. I'm gonna put some little pieces low down.
I just got a comment from one of our Zoom members. You're doing a great job on the video.
Oh, Tibor,
Yeah.
yay, let's give Tibor a hand, honestly. Yay, Tibor. Thank you, Tibor. You're the best. Very nice of you to do this. Okay, so again, we're just kind of making the basic form that we want, maybe smaller. I'll cut that probably in half, because it's gonna overwhelm it. All right, yeah, just to get our basic shape here. And then we'll start adding the fun stuff. And then, you know, you do have to pay attention with the candles and don't let them burn all the way down. It's a little risky, right? Okay, oh, the other thing I love that I'll show you about these eucalyptus is when the pods dry, they're this really, really pretty color. Yeah, so those are really fun to use also, but not for this, not the color scheme that we're looking for. So the next thing I'm gonna do is put in, whoopsie, the feature flower, which will be our roses.
Also, I don't want to sound like the negative Millie here, but it's quite flammable.
Yes, yes.
I don't wanna oil it.
We do know eucalyptus can be flammable. You are right about that. We've all learned that. Yes, if we know nothing else. So these roses were interesting. They have a pink edge, sort of almost like a double delight, but not quite. Wasn't what I wanted, but there were no white to be had. So I said, okay, we'll make this work. So I would generally, for New Year's Eve, probably pick more of a plain white, but that's okay.
How did you tape, you said you taped something in to make it more secure?
Yes,
Where
so
did
this
you
little
tape
plastic thing that's gonna hold your water is taped onto this candlestick. So they're 2 separate pieces. This is the candlestick.
Yeah, and where's the tape?
Underneath, you can't see it.
Oh, okay.
It's a flat surface and it's underneath, yeah, yeah. So I am taking off the outer petals, partially because I don't want as much of that pink, and also because they look a little bit like they're not real happy. So we're just gonna take them off a little bit, get it down to more of the white, because that's what we're looking for, with more of this white look.
Friends of mine asked, is there a difference between the English style of flower arranging, if there is such a thing, and an American style?
So that's a very good question too. So traditional, what we would call traditional arrangements are usually actually derivatives of the English style of flower arranging. And I know the classes that a bunch of us took at Philoli, we were taught by a woman from England who had been trained by Constance Spry, who was a famous English flower arranger. And so they are definitely what you would call traditional arrangements have definitely an English flavor to them. So, And American style, you know, there's a lot more going on now with real modern arrangements and things like that, which is fun, and it's fun to try and to do. It isn't what I would put in my house, but it is fun to do. And so maybe some of that I would say is a little bit more trendy, and of course in Europe too, they do a lot of very trendy types of new, unusual types of things. But you know, this is just classic, just your classic arrangements.
For this one, are you trying for asymmetry, or it isn't required to be
Yes,
any one way?
not really perfect symmetry, but a little more symmetrical than you would do if you were doing something a little, you know, more modern. And this is a little more of a traditional.
So if you use the major flowers as you are, you use an odd number or an even number?
Usually you're supposed to use an odd number. The only reason that you might deviate from that is if you put in the odd number and you just really have a bad looking hole, then you're like, okay, we're gonna have an even number, but we're gonna balance it with more other stuff. So generally you want an odd number, and in Asian design you always have an odd number. You never use an even number. So yeah.
And when we buy it at Safeway or whatever, I can't remember how many roses would we find in a bouquet.
If you're buying just a rose bouquet there, I think there are a dozen in it.
So it's unfortunately an even number.
Yes. But as you can see, we can use the little ones to do other fun things. So we're gonna show that in a minute as well. So the little extra ones can go in little fun places. Okay, another flower that I love to use as a filler, which is very easy to grow also, is alstroemeria. And it lasts really, really well in an arrangement. It comes in all kinds of different colors. Actually, I brought some peach alstroemeria to use in that, and then I decided not to use it. But I love alstroemeria. Same thing though, you can already tell, the leaves are terrible. If you leave these on here, you're gonna be disappointed. So I'm not gonna use the whole stem, so I don't have to worry about that, but certainly at the top, I'm gonna take off these leaves, because they are gonna look bad right away. And sometimes you can leave one or two of the real little ones like that, but otherwise you wanna take them off. And then I also will do similar to what I did with the chrysanthemums, is I will take these apart. So I'll have some that'll be all by themselves, and then I'll have this little threesome. I'll cut that stem. I'll try to find a little place for that. That isn't too, yeah, that'll be fine.
Patient went to Costco
Okay.
early on in the 60s, and he had so I never.
And then when I do that, ones that I cut apart, I put them pretty close together so it actually looks like they were a little bundle of two. So I don't want to necessarily just do eaches. I do like them to kind of look like they're together and maybe they're growing that way in nature. That kind of a feeling. So this already just has three.
So alstroemeria stems are actually kind of fragile. I was amazed that you can poke them in so
Yes.
well without breaking them when you're trying to.
You're absolutely right, and oftentimes they will break. And then when you feel that happen, throw it away, because it's not going to last. So it does sometimes happen that as you're pushing, you feel, oops, then it's not going to make it. So if
You
that
ever
does,
use a guide like a toothpick or something like
you
that
can
to
do
help?
that, or you can take a stem from something and use the stem to poke first. Yeah, in some of the really delicate spring bulbs that are very hard to get in, you can do that to stick something else in there first, and that does help a lot.
Penny, do you remember what he stuck the poppies in at the De Young in the flower?
Oh, yeah, right.
What did he stick?
Orange juice, oranges.
Oranges, yeah.
Yeah. At the Young at the Bouquet Bazaar, we had a designer from Holland.
Oh, yes,
And he's now at the Met, and he had poppies poked into oranges, and he said the sugar of the orange kept those poppies living long.
Oh, how
Really?
interesting.
It was really beautiful.
That's neat, yes, yeah, that's neat. Okay, so we,
And a big Icelandic poppies.
oh, yeah, wow, I bet that looks great. Yeah, so since this is gonna be New Year's, we have to have a little more glitz.
Yeah.
And the nice part about these little ones is these come already wired, which is very easy and fun. So we're gonna just take these little guys and untwist them, and then pretty soon they'll just start to come out of here.
Maybe.
Yeah, if they want to, right? As long as I'm not taking them the wrong way, no, I'm not. Okay, good.
I hate to recommend this because it sounds corrupt.
Yes.
But in my various wanderings through Stanford Medical Center in different buildings,
Yes.
they have a lot of succulents. And one could take a little leaf from them and have a nice succulent collection growing.
Yes, you're probably right, although one might get in trouble, Deborah. One might have to be extra careful.
At night I go for my MRIs.
Yeah, exactly.
More stealth up
Yes,
then.
very stealthy.
You can buy them at Master Gardener's,
So if you pick one that's fallen
Spring
off,
Garden Market.
That's a good point,
Spring
Susan.
Garden Market, they sell succulents.
No, I like to steal them instead because I don't like stuff.
Over in my yard, I've got about 25.
I was gonna say, that's
It's much more fun to steal.
another way to steal is to just talk to all your friends and find out who has some, and then, like you said, just a little piece or a little leaf,
Yeah.
and pretty soon you've got a whole collection. So that's pretty fun.
It's all being recorded.
Yep, it all, what goes around comes around, right?
All being recorded.
I'm actually thinking that's behind you.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. I've
You're
got lots.
absolutely right, yes.
Do you think those could be for a wedding? Yeah. Sometimes people do use candle cups for the weddings, and they put them on those really tall glass, and then it's trailing over. Very,
Yeah.
very beautiful, very dramatic.
You know, the white came from Queen Victoria. She set
Oh.
the style. One of the things to learn from.
I didn't know
Watching
that.
Queen
See?
Victoria, right, yes.
Yep,
She set the fashion before you just wore whatever.
and she started it. Well, isn't that funny? Boy, that sure, held up, didn't it? For a long time. Okay, so then, with that, we're gonna add a little more of these, and then we're gonna add more of that eucalyptus leaves.
Karen, I just love this, and all the bits and pieces that you have, you buy from the wholesale, place, right?
Well, a lot of stuff I do, but also a lot of stuff like the greens and stuff, I just collect those from wherever. Anyone I know that has a good tree, I'll call you and ask you about it. But
I'm
yeah,
talking about the,
these little things,
what you have on the top of the counter.
yes,
the counter,
that's where I got
the
those.
side.
Yes, the candle cups, I originally got those from the wholesaler, and the nice part about those is once you have the plastic form, you can just keep cutting the oasis and put
Yeah.
more and more and more in. They do come already round like that, which saves you a lot of time, but it's not hard to do the cutting at all.
Because that's beautiful for a table, it's gorgeous.
Oh, well, and also, if anybody, and they don't always have stuff, so I can't say it'll definitely be there, but if anybody has a strong desire, like, gee, I'd really like to have a few of those that I could do something with at home, if you let me know and send me an email, when I go, I'll try to, get some extra ones for people, or if somebody really wants a wreath form or whatever, and whatever they charge, I'll just pass it on, so. Okay, so what I would then do with this is I'm gonna add a little bit more of the eucalyptus, just again to fill in. And then we're gonna make a matching, so we'll have the two on the table. And then I definitely would do either some silver balls or a ribbon, and then some little silvers with votives in it, and you'd have a really pretty table for your New Year's. All right, so I'm just gonna finish poking this in, so I think if people wanna walk or get raffle tickets or eat more snacks, or if there's more questions, I'm always happy to ask them while I'm poking stuff in. But I don't wanna bore everybody to death, the poking in.